So, today we're going to go over lesson 58 of Shamoy's intensive course in Tongan, lesson ni mavalu. So, the goals of this chapter are to learn about the interrogative ha when used with koe, which put together is koe ha, and that means what. But we're also going to be looking at the indefinite article ha, that should be ha, it's a typo, which means any, or some. Right? Before we begin, we're going to look at the vocabulary for this chapter. So, in this chapter, we have fa'u, which means to make, create, or build. We have ha, which we just saw, which means any, some. It's the indefinite article. We have kapaika. Kapaika is canned fish, usually mackerel, usually in tomato sauce. We have kapapulu, which means corned beef, specifically corned beef that you buy in a can. This kapa is sort of used before different meats like ika, which is fish, pulu, which is beef, to mean canned versions of that thing. We also have koa, which means soap, koeha, which is what, lore, which is candy. It's from lolly, which is what they call candy in places outside of America, a lot of them, and mahoa'a, which means flour. You can see this ma at the beginning of mahoa'a is the same ma that means bread. As you can see the relationship between bread and flour. Good. First, we're going to look at the dialogue. So we're going to listen to that. So we're in chapter 58. 58. Let's listen to the dialogue here.
Lesson 58, Dialogue. Koe hae mea o kuke fie mau. Koe hae mea o kuke fie mau. Koe koa moi mahoa. Koe koa moi mahoa. O kuke fie mau halore. O kuke fie mau halore. Ikai, oku ikai teu fie mau lore. Ikai, oku ikai teu fie mau lore.
Good. So let's take a little look at the dialogue that we just listened to. So the important thing is this ha article right here. So this is kind of the big point of the chapter. You can see that it gets translated to some in the translation. So, oku ke fia ma'o halore. Do you want some candy? We can also see up here, we have koekoa moi mahoa'a. Here we have the alternative to ha, which is e, right? This is the definite article. And so you can see that we translate as the soap and flour, right? We also see that we don't have the definitive accent on these A's. They're just normal A's. And that shows that the speaker in this sentence isn't talking about a particular piece of soap and bag of flour, but this is just saying, this is what I need. I need soap and flour, not that soap and that flour. But in English, we would translate as the soap and flour, whereas this ha, we usually translate as some, or if it's a singular thing, unlike candy. Let's look at the notes. Koeha mea is something that we hear a lot instead of koeha. So koeha is pretty common, but we'll also hear koeha mea in the beginning of sentences. And this just means literally, what is the thing? Now, like we saw in the dialogue, these are the different ways of saying very much the same thing. Or not the same thing, but these are different variants. So we can see when we use ha, we get, I want some taro. When we use e, the definite marker, we get, I want the taro. And this means the amount already mentioned, the specific taro that I'm referring to. And that comes from this definitive accent on the final O, right? This gives us a certain amount of definitiveness in conjunction with the definite marker, which sort of conveys the idea of the very specific amount of taro that I'm referring to. We can also contrast this intransitive version. Ko fia ma'otalo. This translates to I want taro, right? And just like in English, we don't have or though. It's not I want a taro or I want the taro. It's just I want taro. And here we have the same thing here in Tongan. Ko fia ma'otalo. And it has sort of this, I just, in general, I want some taro. These are some other examples where we have transitive constructions. So here, it's not I, where we just have okuo in all of these cases. Here, it's John wants some taro. In Tongan, we mark in transitive constructions the person who is doing the verb with e, and in intransitive, we use a, right? So in both cases, the person doing the action or the person doing the wanting is shione. But here, the hataro stands in for ahataro, and here, instead of that, we just have a single intransitive verb, fia ma'otalo. So, oko fia ma'o isione hataro versus oko fia ma'otalo asione. John wants some taro versus John wants taro in general. And see, in English, there's a very minor difference between these two, and that's similar in Tongan. There's a minor difference between these two, but you can see in the English translation kind of an idea of what that difference is. And the third point is koe ha'ai, which is how you say why. So we've seen koe ha'ai before. Koe ha'a by itself is what. Also, like it says in point 1, koe ha'a mea is pretty common as well. So we're going to go through the drills. We're going to listen to the drills spoken by the Tongan speaker so that you can hear what a native sounds like when they're pronouncing all of these things. So let's listen to these.
Lesson 58. Drills. Symbol substitution. Koe hae mea nā ke fia ma'u.
Koe ha'a mea nā ke fia ma'u.
Whakatau.
Koe ha'a mea nā ke whakatau.
Koe hae mea nā ke whakatau. Kai.
Koe ha'a mea nā ke kai.
Koe hae mea nā ke kai. Ave.
Koe ha'a mea nā ke ave.
Koe hae mea nā ke ave. Kore.
Koe ha'a mea nā ke kore.
Koe hae mea nā ke kore. Koe hae mea ne whai e sione.
Koe ha'a mea nai whae sione.
Whakatau.
Koe ha'a mea nai whakatau e sione.
Koe hae mea nai whakatau e sione. Fie ma'u.
Koe ha'a mea nai fia ma'u e sione.
Koe hae mea nai fie ma'u e sione. Whau.
Koe ha'a mea nai wha'o e sione.
Koe hae mea nai whau e sione. Koe hae mea e whai.
Koe ha'a mea e whai.
Hoko. Koe hae mea e hoko.
Koe ha'a mea e hoko. Let's take a pause right here and kind of make some notes on the sentences we've just been saying. Koe ha'a mea e whai is something that's said very often in Tongan. And so it has this idea of what are we going to do or what do we have to do? What we're literally saying is koe ha'a, what, the thing, will be done. What thing will be done? And by saying this, it's usually a question that we ask other people or the group that we're with, asking, what are we going to do today? What are we going to do? Or what's going to happen today? These things are pretty self-explanatory. The translations are very simple. Koe ha'a mea nā ke fia ma'u. What do you want? What did you buy? What did you eat? We can see all these are past tense because we have the past tense marker na'a. Here, the same thing. Nae is used, which is the other version of na'a for past tense. Here, we have very much the same things, but we're saying esione instead of ke, meaning you. We're using esione, meaning John. Let's move on.
Even crouching.
Na e fie ma'u e mere halore.
Na i fia ma'o e mele halole.
Kofu. Na e fie
Right.
ma'u e mere ha kofu.
Na i fia ma'o e mele hakofu.
Pōpao.
Na i fia ma'o e mele hapo pao.
Na e fie ma'u e mere ha pōpao. Koa.
Na i fia ma'o e mele hakoa.
Na e fie ma'u e mere ha koa. Mahoa'a.
Na i fia ma'o e mele ha mahoa'a.
Na e fie ma'u e mere ha mahoa'a. Kapapulu.
Na i fia ma'o e mele ha kapupulu.
Na e fie ma'u e mere ha kapapulu. Kapaika.
Na i fia ma'o e mele ha kapaika.
Na e fie ma'u e mere ha kapaika. O kuou fie ma'u halore.
O ko fia ma'o ha lole.
Mahoa'a.
Ko fia ma'o ha mahoa'a.
O kuou fie ma'u ha mahoa'a. Kapapulu.
Ko fia ma'o ha kapapulu.
O kuou fie ma'u ha kapapulu. Kapaika.
Ko fia ma'o ha kapaika.
O kuou fie ma'u ha kapaika. Koa.
O ko fia ma'o ha koa.
O kuou fie ma'u ha koa. Na aku fie ma'u lore.
Na ko fia ma'o lore.
Whakatau.
Na ko whakatau lore.
Na aku whakatau lore. Kore.
Na ko kore lore.
Na aku kore lore.
Okay, let's move on to drill number 2, Hi'ui Moitali. We're going to be asking these questions, and we're going to be responding with this cue. So, the question is, Koha me'o ka fia ma'o? And the response is, Koe koa. I will go through these one by one. Koha me'o ka fia ma'o? Koe talo. Koha me'o ka fia ma'o? Koe kapapulu. Koe ha mea ka fia ma'o. Koe mahoa'a. Let's hear the Tongan speaker say that.
Lesson 58. Drills. Fehui moetari. Give short answers to the following questions. Koe hae mea oku ke fie ma'u.
Koe lore. Sorry. Let's move on to the next. Koe mea e whai. Koe ngaoe. Koe mea e whai. Koe ako mālohi. Koe mea e whai. Koe whenga mālohi. Koe mea nei whai pita. Koe mananga. Koe mea nei whai pita. Koe hiva. Koe mea nei whai pita. Koe tawa kapulu. Koe mea nei whai pita. Koe whae ako. Good. Let's do a short review of what we learned. So, in this chapter, we learned about koeha and ha, meaning a any some. We asked a lot of questions, mainly koeha mea na ke fia ma'o or ke fia ma'o, things like that. And these were words that you can use at a store. So these questions, koeha mea ke fia ma'o, could be said of a store owner to a customer. And these answers over here could be the answers to what they want. So, for example, if I wanted to go to a store and buy 2 cans of corned beef, I could walk up and say, "Koe kapapulo e ua," 2 cans of corned beef. Thank you. And that's the lesson.